Answer this question. We're getting ready to go take my grandma to the train station, and then my baby daddy is gonna go take me to get some curry chicken. I have got to put you guys onto this spot. If you are here local in Hampton Roads, basically, if you can get to this place, you need to go to this place, because if you like spicy food, if you like Jamaican food, oh my god, let me tell y'all. This food is so good. I almost started crying. It is so freaking good. I get the curry chicken, and oh my god. Only thing is they only have like one potato in it. And my dad, when he used to make curry chicken, he would put tons of potatoes in it. But this food, oh my god, it was so good. I wanted to like lick my plate. That's how good it was. Best food I've ever had in a restaurant. Okay, but so the question, not allow. It is my opinion that I was isolated from my family. And the way that he did that was by telling me that my family had done all these horrible things to me. So I kind of spoke about it on my Instagram, but for the gist of it is he systematically, like, I was very sheltered. I was homeschooled. Like I knew like 30 people for like the majority of my life until I showed up to the place where I was working with him and we met each other, and then I'm like around adults. He basically told me that like my parents were these horrible people. My parents whooped us. I grew up in a black household, okay? Black households, we whoop our kids. It's obviously different now because I have children. All of my children, all of their fathers are white men. And people do things a little bit different in those houses. Anthony's background with his family though, his mama, she handled business in a very serious way. Not something that I would ever do with my children. But Anthony and I have kind of just come to the agreement, like, that's just not something that we're going to do with our kids. I might threaten I'm going to whip you, but I'm not going to whip you. I'm not going to put my hands on you. But he just told me that like I was abused and that my parents did all these horrible things to me. He also had convinced me, and this is one of the main reasons we're sitting and battling in court right now, is because Anthony and I, we've known each other since we were 7 and 10, and we were like in love with each other pretty much that entire time. And Anthony's just 3 years older than me. So he's 13, I'm 10. We would be kissing and making out and stuff, touching. He'd be honking my boobs. He would go, "Arr, arr." Like we were sitting in the back seat of the car or something like that. We would hold hands and he would use his hand right here and he would squeeze my boob. Like I would let him, okay? And so like I told him about that type of stuff because he wanted to know everything I had ever done, like literally everything. Even though he was so much older, he could never remember any of the stuff that he had done. And it was like something that could never be spoken about, but I had to give him like everything, detail after detail after detail. And he had convinced me that these things happen, and that I didn't want them to happen, and that they were non-consensual, and that my parents should have protected me from that. And what he had me do was, when I would have to tell people about this or they would ask me about the situation, I was never allowed to say, it's my opinion, I was never allowed to say what Anthony's actual age was. So I would just have to say it was a man from our church, or in my childhood, I was essayed. And I could never say like, hey, like we were boyfriend and girlfriend and he was 3 years older than me. Some people might think that's a really big difference, but it's really not. And so like that is one of the big things right now with custody, is him saying basically that Anthony's a dangerous person and that I'm a dangerous person because Anthony took advantage of me when I was 10 and he was 13. Even though he's admitted in court to being a cocaine dealer at one point while he was an adult. So he's trying to say that like my son is not safe because Anthony and I touched each other sexually when we were kids. So like when the custody evaluator got involved, like that was a big thing that we had to wait for. That custody evaluation was ordered in February, and it didn't get completed until October. Her report wasn't due until October. And while I'm not allowed to share the actual report, the basis was basically that she said that she investigated it, and that she found that nothing between Anthony and I happened that was non-consensual at any point. We were of similar psychological age and development, and that it was consensual. Like both of our parents, I believe she talked to both of our parents, like both of our parents were like, obviously they weren't happy about it. We had gotten in trouble for it. Like we weren't allowed to talk for a while. Like we were grounded and all of this stuff. But he tried to say that my parents should have protected me from that and should have put Anthony in jail and all of this stuff. And I didn't, at the time, I didn't have anybody else that I was speaking to. I couldn't go back to my parents and say, hey, this is what I'm being told. Like, is this true? I didn't have a friend that I could go to say, hey, this is what I'm being told. And this was said to me so often that I kind of believed it. And that's kind of what I went off of. And that caused me to isolate from my family because I felt like my family should have protected me because this is what I was told. And like, why would somebody lie to you about that? And maybe there's a situation where it's a bad situation, but it wasn't like Anthony was just this random boy that was a neighborhood boy and came over and started grabbing my boobs while he was babysitting me or something. Like, we were literally in love. We were going to have all these children, and we thought we were going to get married, and we did end up getting married. But it wasn't until I was able to go to therapy by myself when I went to therapy in Colorado. I think I was there for 2 weeks, and it was an outpatient thing, but it was for people that lived in Colorado. But if you didn't live in Colorado, you stayed in a hotel, and you would go to therapy for like almost 8 hours a day, breaks in between. But I was able to talk about the situation, and my therapist was like, you keep telling me these things, but I'm not seeing that this is how you really feel about this. Like, you don't have the anger towards this person or like the trauma response towards this person that you should have if these things happen. Like, is this really how you feel? I'm sorry. I'm getting one of those sharp stabbing pains in my butt. Lightning crotch from this baby. We can do it. Breathe. Jesus Christ. And it was through that I realized that all of these ideals that I had in my mind, like, and the way that I'd been telling this story was a story that had been told to me and wasn't necessarily my truth. And that's why I think it was so easy for me, like, to just reconnect with my family and to reconnect with Anthony, because I never actually genuinely and honestly harbored these feelings against him. So yeah, it was hard to have a relationship with my family during that time because I was convinced that they had wronged me in this egregious way. Like, that they left me exposed, and that wasn't the truth. I got in trouble for it, but had my, like, and we lived in the state of Virginia. So in the state of Virginia, it wasn't something that he would have legally been in trouble for, especially if I'm saying, like, if I did it to him and he did it to me, like, we both would have been in equal amounts of trouble if there was something to be in trouble for. But nothing that's ever happened. Oh my God, it's happening again. It's like a knife in my butt. It's like someone's going like, ugh. It's freaking lightning crotch. Jesus. Like, I can barely breathe through it. Ooh, Jesus, help me. That's it. All right, I need to go get my curry chicken before I die. I'm like, my mouth is like salivating.